Yeah, absolutely.
Hello there, I am Jo Ball-Wintrott and this is the Amijo show. This is a show where I get to interview some amazing, amazing people who are phenomenally passionate and dedicated to what they do. They also happen to be friends of mine. And today I'm very, very thrilled to speak to Benn Abdy-Collins from just down the road in Ealing.
Hi, Jo. How you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. Really good and looking very smart today.
Thank you. It's my on-camera appearance. Normally I look like Wurzel Cabbage.
Without the straw.
Absolutely, but it scares children, so I try not to do it on video.
So I've just had a quick chat with Ben because I, without asking him, which actually was a bit dicey, but without asking him, I mentioned Ben in my chapter of remote working, which is, so in theory, Ben, you are also an international bestseller, kind of by default.
I like that one.
By default, because you were in the chapter of my book. But I mentioned you, Ben, in my book. You sprung to mind because we've had so many chats about colour and about image, and you're totally on board, and you've always been totally on board with what I do, which is great, and I appreciate that. But you're in the business of actually, in theory, having to wear a certain colour that is the least favourite colour of mine, and actually you've tried to bulk the system, and actually you don't. So I'm not going to spoil it. You tell us what you do and how you do it.
Okay, I have two suits that I wear for work. One of which is a grey fabric, unpatterned, and one is a blue pinstripe. The reason I wear those two colours or those particular suits is because they are not black. I work in the funeral industry. I'm a funeral celebrant, and everyone in the industry wears mourning colours. So it's a black frock coat, a black waistcoat, normally a black tie, mourning trousers. No, most people these days seem to like to have something a little bit less traditional, something that is smart, something that is inclusive, typically with a bright tie. Occasionally, yes, I get asked to wear a black tie. That's as close as I go. But I find that more often it's how can we be creative and yet smart at the same time. That's my image, and it's helped by Jo Ball-Wintrott for some strange reason.
So yeah, I love it, and I think it's really important. And you know, more and more people now are actually putting in their wills, aren't they? That actually they want my uncle didn't want any black at his funeral at all, and then therefore we weren't. I was wearing purple actually. Yeah. But you know, I think it's really important because it's a tough enough experience, isn't it? Having to go through that whole situation, you know, and it's so painful anyway. And obviously you know as well about colour psychology and about the impact colour has. That yes, black is the ultimate colour of respect and of authority, but do we necessarily need that in our lives anyway? Because I would argue we don't even need our police officers to wear black, in my opinion, but also certainly at funerals.
Sure. I mean, the funeral as we know it is very much, it's built on the Victorian process of where those people that sold fabric, they determined thousands of yards of black to be sold, to hung on the outside of houses. It was a huge industry, and a lot of the tradition of the Victorian protocols have become the norms of today. And unless you want to live in Dickensian times for a few minutes at your service, there's no need for it. Okay, the respect of the tradition of the funeral director and the funeral crew, understood. But as the mourners, it's much nicer to be in a chapel full of purples and reds and blues and greens and yellows, oranges, turquoise. It makes people feel good. They tend to smile more, although it's a somber and sad event. If it's a celebration of someone's life, it's very difficult to achieve when everyone's dressed in black.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. It dumbs down the mood. It dumbs down the tone. Yeah, I mean, and I'm one of the few people who looks good in black. But I meet people that I see in colour when I meet them, and they dress in black for the funeral, and they look drained. They look like wraiths rather than human beings, because the colour doesn't work for them, and it actually builds on their sadness and makes them look more traumatized. It's really, really a shame.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. And so there's the vibration of color, the impact the
Hmm.
color has on us on a cellular level, the color that
Hmm.
we wear next to our skin. There's
Hmm.
a visual impact, so the color we see then affects our mood.
Hmm.
But it really does. And also we can feel oppressed with black. I don't actually own anything black apart from one t-shirt that I do training in sometimes. But I think, that it's really important to be aware of that. And like you say, it's all tradition, sadly, isn't it? It's all come from
Yep.
tradition,
Yep.
going into mourning and then having to wear black to the funeral. And then, we used to wear black for weeks and months afterwards, didn't we? As a
Oh,
show of
absolutely.
respect.
Yeah, that, and it made good business for whoever the tailor was. I don't wish to sound cynical, but it was encouraged by the tailors.
Yeah.
They made money. I mean, imagine if your whole wardrobe has to go from, I've got this set of clothing, to it all has to be black. It's all got to be made. So there is somebody benefits from the fact that you've got to change your lifestyle, and it is really for your benefit. And again, there is this thing of more funerals are about celebration rather than about, oh, I am devastated. Because yes, people are devastated, but you can still celebrate someone's life. You can still have humor, and humor is much easier when things are bright.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. I think that's my dad's funeral. We had a lot of laughters in it, a lot of
Mm,
laughing in it.
mm,
But it was devastating for me. But that helped me, and the things I remember about the funeral now were those moments.
yeah,
So which is kind of with fondness, isn't it? Yeah, and like you say, black doesn't suit very many people anyway. You have to have a certain type of skin tone, a cool, light, deep skin tone, which Ben has. He's a winter.
yeah,
He has, so he can wear it. Although seriously, it really actually rarely suits anyone, especially white British skin tone, because the white British skin tone, on average, is still influenced by the Mediterranean colouring and therefore is warm and golden. And black is not in the colour palette within that palette of colours that really work for that skin tone. So, but yes, so I won't keep you long because I know you've got a very, very important call coming up. Not that
yeah.
I'm not important as well, but
Oh, you're essential to my world. However,
you can go now.
okay, thank you. I'll dismiss that. Okay, thank you. I'm
Um,
happy to carry on this conversation because it is a fascinating one. Because color and tradition are intimately interwoven. We know who's in the army, we know who's in the RAF, we know who's in the Navy, we know who's in the police force, we know who's in the ambulance service because of the color and the tradition. However, that also becomes a very blunt instrument too when it really doesn't fit well with the personality of who's wearing the color. So there's always this horrible juxtaposition that can go on between someone's personality and what they have to wear as a uniform. And the uniform, because humans aren't uniform. We are very, very unusual, and we're very, very unique and very, very special as individuals. And somehow we need to be able to present that with our personality.
we do, and it's important to be sort of tuning into that and actually really expressing that. And I call it the Mayfair minions. When you walk around Mayfair, they all
Yeah,
look the same. The guys are in the dark navy suits with white shirts, or charcoal grey with pale blue maybe, and they're
yeah,
just minions of each other. And everyone has a right to be different and express themselves differently. And the
mm,
first thing, that I notice when someone isn't doing that and they stand out, you think, actually, you really believe in yourself, because to stand out, you have to really believe in yourself. And I think actually that's underpins everything that I talk about. So it's time for you to start shining, and that you can't shine when you're wearing the same as everyone else and you're looking like one of the minions. I think it is a really interesting conversation, and there's lots of color stories in our head, like blue and green should never be seen, and all sorts of crazy things, like all these little anecdotes of color that just aren't true. I can prove they're not true.
sure.
But yeah, I love talking to you, Ben, but I won't keep you much longer. But can I just say you're
Mm.
obviously available online, benabdycollins.com, as a celebrant, and obviously so you deliver the messages at funerals, don't you? You
Yes.
speak.
I interview families, I write the service, I deliver and perform the service for families about the person who has died. It's all about beauty. It's all about love. And if you remember Benn, Benn Abdy-Collins.com, you will find me. It's a unique name.
Fantastic. Just as the postman comes, so I'm going to have to go, so I've got delivery. And the dog's coming out and the animals. Workingfromhome.com. Benn, lovely speaking to you. Have a good day.
Take care. All the best. Bye bye now.